This is difficult to hold 3 geese at one time. It's just gonna keep getting more difficult, isn't it? Isn't it? I wanted to talk to you a little bit about why I started doing this. Why I started gardening and having animals and homesteading, hobby farming, whatever you want to call it. I have had anxiety my whole life, but when I was a teenager, it got really bad, especially after I graduated high school. It started right before I graduated high school, and I ended up not even being able to graduate with my class. I had to take night classes. I was able to get my diploma, but I had to take night classes to graduate. And from there on, it just progressed. I just had severe anxiety. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I didn't know that it was anxiety. I thought I was sick. And I'm sure that physical illness had a little bit to play in it, but I am confident that my anxiety fed off that and my physical illness fed off of my anxiety. I'm 27 now, so I've been dealing with this for over a decade. After high school, it got so bad that for a whole year I never left my house. If I left my house, I had to be with my parents, and I didn't eat out in a restaurant for probably 2 years. And I felt so guilty. I couldn't go to college. I couldn't get a job. I couldn't support myself. I couldn't help my family pay the bills. And I thought, I have to find a way to help support myself and my family if I'm going to live here without having to get a job or go to college, which I couldn't do. At that time, there were online classes, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't want to go back to school. I was a bad student. And I think I was smart, but I was just not a good student. And I think a lot of that had to deal with the fact that I was so anxious in school. Like, we didn't have any of this Zoom stuff back when I was in high school. If we did, then I would have probably done really well. I probably would have ended up going to college and taking online classes. I feel like I would have been able to concentrate more being at home. I had the general anxiety and the agoraphobia, and I wouldn't leave the house. But I also had this crazy fear and obsession that the apocalypse was going to happen and that zombies were going to walk. And it sounds really silly now, but at the same time it doesn't, because we just had to deal with an entire year of a pandemic. But anyway, I was obsessed with the thought that zombies were going to walk. And what was I to do? How prepared was I? Well, I wasn't. One day, just playing around, I took some seeds out of some apples, and I just put them in some dirt. Now, I had gardened with my mom growing up a little bit, but nothing extensively that interests me. I wasn't like, oh yeah, let's grow a garden. But after these apple seeds came up and turned into these crazy big trees in no time at all, and I started researching all about it and realizing that, I couldn't grow that apple from seed. Then I started learning. Well, that's interesting. But the fact that I grew that seed and it germinated and it turned into a plant, I was like, whoa. Then that was what sparked it. Next was lemon seeds, and then tomatoes, because it was getting warmer. And then of course, started doing all the research and Googling, and well, we have to have a compost pile, and we have to have chickens. And then when we got the chickens, it became this thing where I felt like I felt it in my soul, like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. Not only am I learning how to grow food to sustain myself and help provide for my family, I'm keeping myself busy. And before that, I was severely depressed. I had friends, but like a teenager, they didn't always want to come to my house and hang out with me because I couldn't leave. They wanted to go out and do stuff. So I did lose some friends. We still stayed in contact, but we didn't hang out. It gave me something to do and something to stay busy and something to learn about and research. I researched all sorts of stuff, from sustainable gardening to building tiny houses to hatching chickens, and There for a few years it was just, alright, chickens and learning how to garden. A few chickens here and there, and the learning experiences that come with that, like some hens trying to hatch some eggs and them not sitting on them all the way, so I had to build an incubator out of a light bulb and a box, and then the electricity went out on day 19 while they were hatching. We had to hold them over a kerosene lamp and until they hatched, and they hatched in our hands, and it was crazy, and I learned so much. Every year since then, I would kind of like not fall out of the interest, but kind of like I worked on my artwork a lot, and we ended up getting the house next door to my mom. That took a lot of my time, but I learned how to, because we didn't have a whole lot of money, I learned how to do like drywall and painting and plumbing and just all sorts of these trades that come along with homesteading. So that became a big interest. Remodeling and building things, and I was able to work through some of my anxiety and work with my dad's friend on a construction job doing painting for a while. And then I really fell back into it hard when I realized that this really is what I want to do, because I suffer from depression and anxiety, and this is what motivates me to get out of bed every day. The fact that I have to get up and let the chickens out, take care of the animals, is sometimes, a lot of the time, the only thing that gets me out of bed. I deal with chronic fatigue and pain and a whole other slew of things, illnesses and pains and weirdnesses. This is the only thing that gets me out of bed. I can tell you without a doubt that homesteading and gardening and hobby farming has saved my life. It has given me something to research and study and keep my mind busy and keep my hands busy and keep my heart full, because if you do this, you understand just the love in your heart that you have for these creatures. Even if you end up turning them into food, you have love for these animals. You see them from when they're born to when they die, and from when they hatch till they're on your plate, and you get to experience their growing cycle and see that they're loved and happy and healthy. And so after the chickens and years of garden experiences and garden failures, we've all been there, but learning, and I knew I had a green thumb. I could grow it. It's just learning how to do it correctly. I got rabbits, and those were fun. I never got to breed them because I was waiting until springtime rolled around, and then we had an incident with some bad neighbors and a pack of pit bulls, which killed my rabbits. But right around that time last year was when I got my goats, and if you want to see when I first got my goats, then I'll link it down, or you can go search in the goats playlist. It's on my profile. That was amazing. So that year was COVID, last year, 2020, and I thought to myself, I thought that I was prepared. I thought that I would be prepared. No, but it made me and the rest of us here realize that we need to take it more seriously, even though it's a hobby. There's still more that we can do and learn that can help make us more sustainable, to help feed us if anything happens like this in the future. But during 2020 and during quarantine, I started doing these live videos on Facebook, and we bought an incubator, and I hatched eggs, and that was when they had let schools out, and all these kids were at home, and all my friends have kids, and they followed along with the hatching process. I'd go live and I'd candle the eggs and I'd explain all this stuff, and you can see that in the playlist over here. I uploaded all of that too from last year, and all of the positive comments that I got, I'm gonna do a roll here so you can see. All of the positive comments that I got last year when everything just seemed so bleak and scary, it was just another magical time that homesteading, farming, whatever you want to call it, helped get me and helped others through a time when there wasn't much to look forward to. It was amazing. It's helped me so many times to get through so many hard times. So this year, we're still in the pandemic. It's getting better, it's looking up, but I had to do this hatching process again. I didn't want to do chickens this year again because we had so many roosters, although that was an awesome learning experience because we ended up butchering the roosters. I had never done that before. I was terrified, never killed anything. I love animals, but I did it. But I wanted to hatch something else, so I got these goose eggs, and this has been amazing. These geese show me a love that the chickens never did. They cuddle me, and it's just such a magical experience. I'm confident that this lifestyle has saved my life. That who knows where I would be had I not planted those apple seeds. I encourage you, even if you don't know what you're doing, to go out there and plant a seed and just see what comes up. Because you're not only planting a seed in the dirt, you could be planting a seed in your heart and for your future. So I encourage you to do that. So if any of you are out there and you're suffering from anxiety and depression and it affects your day-to-day life and it is miserable, it is exactly like a physical illness, and a lot of times worse, and accompanied by physical illness. It's hard to do this stuff when you're physically ill and sad and anxious. But just know that you're not alone, and just keep on planting those seeds and hatching those eggs because that helps us look forward to another day, another season, and we will get through it together. And just know that you're not alone, that there's more of us out here. Thank you for watching this vlog. I know it's different than any of the other ones that I've made, but it's something that I wanted to get out there. It's something that I've been wanting to put out there for a long time, and it's hard to talk about, but it needs to be talked about. It needs to be talked about because you need to know that you're not alone, that there's others out there, and we can make it through it. Sometimes the hardest things to talk about are the ones that really need to be talked about. Isn't that right, Lemon? Isn't that right, Lemon? Isn't that right, Lemon? Oh, isn't that right, Lemon? Yeah. Tell them bye. Say bye. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.